Today I'm going to be talking just about some deaf cultural issues such as how to learn sign language and where you can find good deaf information from. And first thing is I want to start with identifying deaf sources. If it's not deaf owned or deaf led, it's not a valid source on deafness because hearing people have no deaf lived experience, so they don't understand deafness. So anything a hearing person has to say about deafness is discrimination, because we are oppressed for being deaf. We are not allowed to speak for ourselves. Hearing people, they control most of the information about deafness, so that's the main issue. The only time a hearing person should be speaking on deafness is to refer you to someone who is deaf. If a hearing person is trying to make themselves a resource for deafness for any reason, it is discrimination. It doesn't matter if they're an interpreter. Interpreters are not deaf. They're not culturally deaf. They have no deaf lived experience. It's oftentimes an interpreter that will be trying to speak over deaf people on deaf issues. And that's not your job. If you are an interpreter, your job is to interpret. It's to amplify our voices. And a lot of people, they spread this misconception that if you are hard of hearing or if you speak, you don't need interpretation, but that's not true, by the way. So just, correcting some misinformation out there. So where can you learn how to sign from? How can you find good information? Deaf people. Make sure you're learning from deaf people, because hearing people are not qualified to teach sign language ever. Now, there are a very small percentage of hearing people. It's less than 1% of hearing people who are culturally connected to deaf culture. So, when I talk about hearing people, I'm not talking about the very small percentage that are culturally connected. I'm talking about most hearing people. And the hearing people who are culturally connected, they should know that they shouldn't be mad about deaf people speaking on oppression. And if they are, they're part of the problem. But deaf people, I'm being very blunt with my words, but that doesn't mean that deaf people, we don't value the hearing people inside of our community. It just means that there is a time and a place for where you fit in, because that's the issue. Hearing people won't even be providing us access, but think that they are. So that's a problem. So deaf people you can learn sign language from include Deaf Family Matters, as well as Bill Vicars. Those are two I always recommend first because, well, Bill does free classes online on YouTube. And they're self-paced, or you can, go to his website and do like with the 101s or the classes, the group classes with them. But then deaf, family matters. Fucking she's great. So, and that's where you can get that one-on-one session. But yeah. And there's I have a list of other people that you can learn from too. I have a list. Oh, hi Shannon, how are you? Yeah, I have a list of deaf people you can learn from. And you know what? Let me show you. If you sign up for my my contact list at noladeafchild.com, I can send you some information about resources for deaf people, from movies to books, to sign language classes, to groups for deaf people, for deaf community. So whether you're deaf yourself or you are just part of the deaf community, I have, free or paid information and resources that I can send you. And my next email that I send is gonna be about deaf resources, will be the first part of it. So thank you for the likes. Yeah, if you want free deaf information, like where to learn sign language, deaf, media to watch, like everything like that, I'm gonna send that in my next email. And you can sign up for that, noladeafchild.com. So yeah. No, thank you for coming. I appreciate you. And if you have any questions, if there's anything you want to talk about, I'm here. The first thing that I was talking about with this live was identifying deaf sources. And the main thing there is simply, if it's deaf-led, finding deaf individuals and supporting them. And I really, really think you should only consider a hearing person as part of the deaf community, or as a friend in the deaf community. I don't like the word ally, because I feel like people use that word to call themselves, to excuse their own discrimination, I don't know, tokenize it. But I I like saying supporters, things like that. So if you support the deaf community, I think, a way to identify other hearing people who are actually supporting the deaf community are the ones who talk about us, who allow us to represent ourselves, because that's what's most important. We don't have the representation. So hearing people who give us the platform, who interpret for us, who don't appropriate our culture, who don't misuse it or try to teach it especially wrong, things like that, the good hearing people who actually listen to deaf people, that's what's most important. That's what's, so I'm just sharing how and why I think it's important for hearing people to be like involved in deaf community, but to know like how to be involved and where your place is to not, cause problems. Because, for example, I did that whole video on Myrnie Ann. She was teaching wrong signs. And another thing she does is she'll be using bad signs, like discriminatory signs, and she'll claim that American Sign Language is discriminatory, but no, she's just using discriminatory words. Like, American Sign Language changes over time. And yes, ASL is discriminatory in a different way, like because of the roots of it all. And there are, just like any other language, discriminatory words in sign language that we have to change over time. And we're still working on changing some words, but Myrnie Ann I don't know if she just doesn't know the right words because she signs so much wrong that I actually think she might not know the right words. Or I'm not sure if she's doing this on purpose to get views, because she knows that these topics will get views, because I know that she has admitted to using American Sign Language for views. So I don't know if she's using like the wrong words for views, or she just doesn't know any better. But either way, she will teach this like misconception that ASL uses a lot of wrong words and we are outdated. But the words she'll be sharing, there are correct words for that. She's just using the discriminatory ones. Like, what? Oh my god. So, and I have a whole video about that. And when I upload this live onto YouTube, I will link that video in the description. Oh, hey, B-Cow, how you doing today? I appreciate you coming. I'm just kind of bitching about some of the issues I have with hearing people trying to represent deafness online. And how to actually identify and find and learn ASL, and where you can learn ASL from. Let's see. I'm good. I'm just drinking my coffee. I wish I was like more like Auntie Jase online. I don't know if you see their TikToks, but they'll start their day with the morning smudges, and they'll do like their morning like coffee or tea, and I love that. Like, I love their videos and how they'll do like so positive, but then they'll be talking about real issues too, and they find a way to make like human connection, I don't know. I've been thinking, I was like, but I have anger management issues, so I don't know how to be that cool as them, but I wish I was, right? Like, so but yeah, if you need help learning sign language, Bill Vicars is someone who does free online classes for ASL if you ever want to learn. So I'm just trying to show and send people to free resources, and then my next email that I send out, it's gonna be an email about deaf, just like resources, information for people who want to learn sign language or want to learn more about deaf culture, deaf people, deaf identity, and things like that. But yeah, fucking I've been doing these lives just to kind of like practice, because I don't know what I'm doing with like talking, so I'm trying to get used to like kind of, I don't know, public speaking. and I'm like, hey guys, follow me, my life's a joke. I don't know. But yeah, so the contact list, the next one I have like a list of deaf resources. We got Facebook groups, and then a lot of the groups, they'll be like, you can share, like if you can't find, because online you can't always find how to sign something. So if you don't know how to sign something, there are groups on Facebook where the whole point is you submit what you want to learn how to sign, and someone will comment, like, or a lot of people will comment like how to sign the thing. So you know, and I forgot the name of the group, but it's listed in my resource sheet that I'm gonna share. I think it's ASL that, and things like that on Facebook. Yeah, it's definitely ASL that. But so yeah, those are things that I'm trying to share and just put out there, and that I've been talking about in this live, because I want people to, you know, learn more. And then about identifying deaf people and identifying hearing people who actually support deaf community. I did go on like a rant about issues I have with hearing people, but that's because, like, you know, I'm seeing a lot of these issues, and so I have some opinions about that. But there are really good hearing advocates. For example, my Intentions Did It is a good one on Instagram. That's their handle. They are an interpreter, and they are a part of Bono ASL, I think they're a part of that too. And they do like free interpreting. Oh, what kind of issues? Yeah. So what I was talking about earlier is, I just used the word, but so hearing people will teach sign language, which is always just itself cultural appropriation. But what's worse is they teach the wrong words. They'll not only teach the wrong words, so everything they'll be teaching about sign language and deafness will be wrong. And sometimes they'll be teaching like close to the same word, but what they're doing is wrong. And sometimes they're clearly making shit up. Like, that's not even sign language. Like, what the fuck are they doing? And they're claiming it's ASL, so it won't be like a matter of, oh, you don't know which sign language it is, because there are different ones. They're claiming it's ASL, but it's not fucking ASL, you know? Things like that. Like Myrnie Ann, 83, she's big on interpreting Palestine content, but she teaches sign language wrong, and she signs a lot of words wrong. So she's not a fluent signer. She's not providing access to deaf people. She's appropriating our culture, and she's discriminating against deaf people. So people like that, you know, versus like, there will be like hearing parents most hearing parents won't learn ASL for deaf kids, right? But some who do, they'll learn ASL, and then they'll be like, watch me teach my toddler how to sign. And I'm like, or they'll be like, or they'll have the camera in their deaf kid's face. So when it's a deaf family, I have thoughts about child exploitation. But when it's a deaf family, actually sharing deaf parenthood, I feel like they have a different intention behind it versus a hearing person shoving a camera in their deaf kid's face. Like, I forgot the name, but one hearing parent was like, it was a dad, and he filmed a reaction of his deaf kid telling the deaf kid he was not going to sign for the deaf kid anymore. That's using our trauma for a joke. And that's playing with your kid's access. How is that funny? What's the joke? So things like that, you know, they'll be shoving, they'll be like, oh, I have a deaf kid. You know, they'll be the child, the family bloggers who are clearly exploiting. And I recommended Deaf Family Matters, so I'm not talking about like all family, you know, bloggers. I do have issues with family bloggers. That's a whole nother conversation. But I also think like there's a difference too when you have to advocate for like social issues, you know. For example, I'm not about to claim people showing what's happening in Palestine are exploiting those kids. You know, hell no. Like, we gotta see that. Like, what? So there's like a difference too. Like, sometimes you don't get to choose whether or not to show your kids, you know, because things are happening that the world will need to know about. So from a deaf perspective, there's a way that deaf people will show we are just normal. But this is what's happening to us. For example, Deaf Family Matters shows her experience in the hospital. She almost died because of not having interpretation. She's been going through so much. You know, and I have language deprivation. I signed law, which is when you use, whether it's signing or speaking, you start using the wrong words. There's like a lot of symptoms for it, but there's like 5 main ones, and it's like filler words, like stuttering, things like that. Like, I do that because of not having an accessible language for me growing up. And a lot of people have that issue. And so that's why it's like that joke is not funny, because it impacts our entire being. So yeah, like that's my thing. It's like, or hearing people who try to make themselves seem like an expert on deafness. Anytime a hearing person is saying, ask me for more information about deafness or sign language, they are not deaf friendly. That's not okay, ever. No. That's like a cis man saying, ask me how a period feels like. Like, it's like a straight person saying, ask me what it's like to experience queer oppression. You don't fucking know. So that's another problem I have is when hearing people try to make themselves, or they'll be like, I studied deaf people, so I know more about deafness than a deaf person. No, because all academia and like the medical root of deafness is rooted in ableism, discrimination, oppression, you know, like it's, so that's my thing. It's not about, it's not, and not all hearing people, of course, but most hearing people. For example, in 1880, deaf people were only given 3 hours to talk about why we should be able to keep using sign language. Alexander Graham Bell, hearing person, hearing savior, had 3 days to speak, and he got sign language banned. And so that's why deaf people don't have sign language now. There was it was called a dark legal ages, between like the 1900s, I don't know the dates, but for a long time we had no legal representation. And a lot of the bad things that happen legally with deaf people happened in that time. And then so because of the civil rights movement, we finally got rights. So that's what's happened. Like, if it weren't for the Black Panthers, we wouldn't have rights under the ADA, under the 504 protests led by Brad Lomax of the Black Panthers. So that's like why, oh hey Kiki, how you doing? I don't know. So that's why I'm like, so hearing people, Brad Lomax was hearing. He's a great ally for deaf people, you know. He's a Black Panther. But, so there's a good way, like when you're referring, if you're a hearing person referring other hearing people to deaf people, that's an ally, you know. If you're a hearing person amplifying, sharing, supporting, buying from deaf people, that's an ally. It's only when you're trying to make money off of our culture. It's when you're trying to put yourself as an expert over our culture while we're still oppressed for being ourselves. That's an issue. Hi, how you feeling? So that's where I'm at. That's what I've been talking about. But where to learn sign language? I'm providing a list. If you sign up for my contact list, my next email will be a list on where to learn sign language. But Bill Vicars, and I'm gonna, oh hi Wise One, how you doing? And I'm gonna do a whole list. But Bill Vicars on Facebook, and well, he is on Facebook, but I meant to say YouTube. He does free sign language classes. They're self-paced. Deaf Family Matters. She is, I think that she actually might be, because she identifies as Afro-Latina. So I think, you know, based on her heritage, I also believe she may have Native ancestry. And so Deaf Family Matters. And she does like one-on-one, like online meetings for learning how to sign. And she's also just like amazing for just general deaf awareness, as well as for, you know, white people like me to decolonize, and things like that. How you feeling? If you have any questions about deafness, you know, I'm here for that. I've been talking about how to identify good deaf sources. I've talked about where to learn sign language from. I've talked about some Facebook groups for sign language. But yeah. Thank you for the likes on the live, by the way. I don't know who did that. But I'm just here if y'all need anything. And for those of you who are here, I do have like a loyalty program on my site. And if you sign up, you get, oh, thank you. You get points just for being here. You get 50 points just for signing up. And then for every 300 points, you get $30 off my store. For every 1 or 200, you get discounts off my store. So if you're already here, you know, if you just sign up, you get the points. So I'm putting that out there. Boop. If you're ever thinking about, like, you know, buying my stuff and things like that, that's a good, you know, things like that. But yeah. Fucking, the past few days I have been preparing more for these lives, but today I didn't get to do that, so I'm over here just winging it. Let's see. I got some merch. So the merch, I have deaf community, and the deaf is in ASL. It's fingerspelled with the Gallaudet font. But it is okay for hearing people to wear this because you're not calling yourself deaf, you know. It's my logo, it's a brand, and it's part of the deaf community. So hearing people have asked me if, you know, they can wear the deaf shirts. Yes, you're not calling yourself. I'm going to put out some merch next that will say, I'm deaf. Of course, hearing people tell me I'm not deaf, because that's a thing. Like, you know you're deaf when hearing people try to say you're not. Fucking, that one I'm gonna ask that is only for deaf people. Like, hearing people can buy it for a deaf person, but it's intended for deaf people, you know. So, you know, if you're already here, you get points for coming. So I just wanted to remind y'all, like, if you are spending your time with me, you know, you can end up with some free shit because of the way that the points and the discounts work, so. But yeah. For my contact list, that next email, I'm gonna probably send that out next week. And that's gonna be like, it's on noladeafchild.com. It's a deaf resources list on that. And if you're on mobile, you have to click the more button to see it. But it's got a whole list of deaf movies, deaf books, deaf shows to watch. Like, it's got Facebook groups to learn sign language, like deaf tutors for practicing, communicating. And then I've got like a list. At the time that I made the resource page, I wasn't on TikTok, so the list is all mostly Instagram and Facebook links, but I have a whole list of deaf people you can follow for supporting the deaf community. And not all of them are on TikTok, but a lot of them are on TikTok. But yeah. And I don't want to ramble too much because I feel myself kind of sputtering out like a little engine. But if I just want to give it another minute. Oh, hey Victoria, how you feeling? I've just been talking about where to learn sign language from and how to identify a good deaf resource. But I've been rambling. If you have any questions, I'm here. I was just about to get off because I don't know what else to talk about anymore. Oh, thank you. So, we don't call ourselves hearing impaired, by the way. We just use deaf, or I'm hard of hearing, but I call myself deaf also. So, hearing impaired is actually, it comes from, no worries, yeah. So for learning ASL, Bill Vicars on YouTube, free, you know, self-paced online classes. And also, some of those classes, they're like 30 minutes long, but your brain isn't going to remember all of that information. So I would just focus on like 5 to 10 minutes at a time daily. Give yourself time for learning new vocab. I learn new words 5-10 minutes a day. Bill Vicars on YouTube. And I have a video on my profile and it's just a 1-minute video with that information if you forget. No problem. And hearing impaired comes from people calling us deaf and dumb. And we said, stop calling us dumb. And they said, fine, you're impaired. And it's like broken, right? But we don't call ourselves impaired. the hearing people who do identify as that are usually the ones who have no deaf community, and they're surrounded by hearing people who call them that. Oh, thank you, I appreciate you. And it's from an outdated, it comes from the dark legal ages of deaf representation, where deaf people had no rights, and we still are fighting for those. But like all disabled people, and deaf people, we don't think that we are disabled either for being deaf, most of us. It's considered like a social disability, where hearing people consider us disabled, and that's how we have rights under the ADA and other laws. So we do have to identify as disabled to get equal rights under the law, but we don't think that we are disabled. I appreciate the rose also, that, thank you. And the whole impaired thing too, like we're not broken. We don't need to be fixed. We have a culture, and before colonialism, there was no difference between deaf and hearing culture in America, quote unquote, US, like, I mean, for lack of better word for America, because that's a colonial word too. But yeah, man, like their native people use hand talk and speech intertwined to communicate. That's like how they communicate between tribes to trade. So that's my thing. Like, I don't know. I just feel like part of decolonizing is, not only going back to tribal sovereignty, but looking at all of the systems that we have put into place to oppress us and undoing that. And this is another side rant. Like, one thing that I have an issue with, like, I understand needing to work on what you say. I am learning all the time how things that I've said are wrong, right? But I don't understand when people are not willing to change the words that they are using to be better. Like, I understand making a mistake, but I don't understand doubling down when it comes to like discriminatory words and practices. And we live in a society where people will discriminate against you and say that's not discrimination. But then when you literally just say, like, yeah, it is, and you stand firm on that, they act like you're somehow, it is, and you stand firm on that, they act like you're somehow. So I'm going to sign off. I hope you guys have a great day. Thank you so much for coming. If you're still, oh, who went to Riverdale with me? Hold on, I was just about to get off. Who are you? I can't see who you are because it says save yourself, and you said you went to Riverdale with me. Yes, I did go there, so that's, yes, you probably did. Who are you? Justin, friends with Tyler. Oh shit, are you talking about, oh no. Oh no. Okay, you know what I've been doing. You know how my brain, I got that Tommy Chong brain. I think I know who you are, but I'm not entirely for sure. But it's good to see you. Yeah, I hope that you're having a good day. Thank you for stopping by. There's like, I'm kind of amused because there have been like 3 different points where I was like, okay, I'm gonna end the live now, and then I see someone else and I'm like, let's keep going. Yes, I'm gonna follow you back. Thank you. No, everything is going well. You know, I'm crazy, but everything is fine. I'm doing good. Just working over here. It's really good to see you, and I really appreciate the follow. I'm gonna follow you back. Ba-doop. And well, I requested it. You're private, but that's fine. But yes. So, I'm gonna just, be here another 2 shakes of a lamb's tail. Does anyone have any questions or anything y'all want to talk about before I go? Okay, well, just to recap what we talked about so far today, we were talking about learning from deaf people for deaf issues. How to identify a hearing ally is someone who will refer you to deaf people for more deaf information instead of speaking over or claiming expertise on deafness. And then for learning ASL, go to Bill Vicars on YouTube, as well as Deaf Family Matters on Instagram or TikTok or anywhere else. Those are going to be some great places. Other people you can learn sign language from are like Jason, I don't know how to say your name, dude. Gervais, Gervais. Is it I-S or I-S-E? You know what? I don't know how to say or spell that dude's name, but he's awesome. So he teaches sign language as well, and he does like breakdowns of the words, so he's great for that. My intentions did it is a hearing interpreter. I think is a good example of a deaf ally because he does not try to represent himself as an expert on deafness. He only shares his experience as an interpreter, and he shows you other deaf people to go follow. So that's what I like about him. And he collaborates with deaf people for the content. So he's, you know what I mean? Like, versus what I don't like is when a hearing person is like, ask me about deafness or sign language. You don't know shit, bitch. Anywho, but yeah, no, thank you all so much for coming today. And if you sign up for my contact list, for my email list, my next one will be about deaf resources. Also, if you join my site loyalty program and you're coming to these lives anyway, you get points for letting me know and showing up and things like that. So that can be discounts in my store. So putting that all out here. So yeah, I'm going to sign off now. Thank you so much for coming. I appreciate you.